Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the vlog. So in today's episode we actually take the engine out of the car, and I'm so happy that we're able to get it out, but you'll see us do that as we progress through today's episode. Now in today's episode you're going to hear me talk about stripping the car or stripping the engine down to move those pieces onto the new car. That we don't need to worry about that because the new engine has everything that we need on there. So I'm referring to the old engine that I was originally going to buy, which was just a straight block and a head and some injectors. So I would have had to take everything off this car, but that's no longer applicable because on this car, the engine that we've bought for this car, it has everything on there that we need. So the only stripping that we will be doing on this engine is pipes. So literally just pipe work that is being cut from the previous car, because obviously when they took this engine out of the car, the new engine, they literally cut all the pipes. So that's the only thing that we need to really take off the old one. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into getting this engine out of the car. Okay, so we now have everything disconnected. We got our prop shaft down there, that's all loose now and disconnected. We've taken off our dry shaft on this side here, so you can see the dry shaft hanging down there. The engine has been held up by my jack down the bottom there, and you can see that it's loose, it's ready to come. So the only thing that's holding the engine in place now is this engine mount just here. So once we undo that, the whole engine will be loose. The only issue I have at the moment is the exhaust. So I have loosened the exhaust, that's come off on the top here, but it still seems to be attached down the bottom. So I'm just going to check the workshop manual just to see if I haven't missed anything. But I'm going to do that tomorrow because if you look outside now, it's getting pretty dark. Camera makes it look lighter than what it actually is, but it's certainly moving on now. So we're virtually there now. Literally tomorrow we should have the engine out of the car, and then the big dismantle begins, because although we're getting a new engine, it's really a short engine what we're getting. And what I mean by that is that all the ancillaries except for the head, everything on the head of the new engine is there, but the engine that I'm getting doesn't have any alternator, it doesn't have a compressor. We've got a compressor, but we have to get a new alternator, and it doesn't have a turbo, but that's fine because we've got a turbo there. So that means I have to get hold of the gaskets, which I'm fine with because I was going to do that anyway. And then we have to split the gearbox apart as well. Now the gearbox, the DSG gearbox, is a very heavy box, weighs more than the actual engine does as well. So taking it out is going to be very interesting. I need to balance it in such a way, but you will see that tomorrow. You will see me taking that engine out as soon as I sort out the issue with the exhaust. So that's it for today, and we will see you in the morning. Okay, it's the next day, so we just got a couple of things to do now to get this engine out of the car, and then we should be done. So we've got, like I said last night, this engine mount here, these 3 bolts, that's what's holding it up, and the jack underneath. But behind here we've got the exhaust that's still in place. Now there is one bolt, and I found where that bolt was on the workshop manual, so I'm going to get under the car, get that done. Then once we get that done, we're going to get the hoist in, and then we'll take the engine out, and then we should be good. The engine now is completely disconnected. All the ancillary cables, loose ends, everything is now loose. So this engine is literally just a freestanding agent. So yeah, so let's get that done, then the engine will be out of the car. We can then start stripping all of this off, because we need to get everything we see here off, so that the engine, we can get that sorted. So let's do that right now. Actually, before we get under the car, I just want to say that this toolbox, this is the first time that I've done an extensive heart surgery on a car and not have to go out and buy loads of tools because I'm missing bits and bobs. So I want to thank the guys at Tool Maniac for supplying me with the Sonic S8 toolbox, because this box has got everything that I need to do the job that I've been doing so far. And I mean everything, from all the sockets that you've just seen there to the multitude of different types of spanners. And Audi, they do have specific tools for specific jobs, but I believe that the Sonic Ranger toolbox is what Audi gets supplied with anyway. So I've been able to find that everything that I've got here, particularly these spanners and some of the splines, they just fit perfectly. So once again, if you're interested in getting yourself one of these toolboxes, even if you buy the box and build the kit up really slowly, you can do that, and Tool Maniac can facilitate that. So go to their website, you'll see the link down below, and you can get this. Anyway, enough chatting, let's get down to what we need. So I need a 13mm socket, so we'll grab that there. And I also need a short extension. I've been using so many tools here, but this is what I'm going to use just for this last little element here. And then we'll need an 18mm spanner and socket to loosen up the other bit. So let's crack on and get underneath the car and loosen that last bolt. Okay, so engine finally out, as you've seen. This was a massive job to get this out, but actually it came out easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be even more complex than what it was, so I'm glad that it's come out where it is. So that's what we're left behind. There's our engine bay, you can see our exhaust, and I am propping up at the moment the prop shaft with a axle stand, and the beauty of that is that that hasn't moved. I've marked it up because it needs to go in exactly the same way. There is a mark on the back of this wheel here, so this is where the prop shaft goes in, and I put a little mark underneath so that when I come to put it back together, I know exactly where it needs to be to make sure it hasn't moved. So what we've got to start doing now, next week, we're going to take off all of the front here because this is damaged, this is broken, so I'm going to have to replace that. So what we'll do is we'll strip that all back, and then mammoth task, but we're all done now. Engine is out. We can start assessing some of the damage underneath there as well, because we have got some damage. The fuse box, that's going to need to be replaced because that's damaged as well. But yeah, it's just little fiddly plastic bits and pieces really, rather than sort of major things that have gone wrong on this car. So I'm still happy with the progress we're making and where we are this week. So yeah, let the dismantling process begin. What we need to do now is we need to split the gearbox apart from this old engine, which is now going to be discarded, bar us stripping it down for spares. So we need to start off from below, and the easiest way to do that is to jack up the engine. We'll take off the bolts and some of the ancillaries that are on there, and then we can then separate it. So we need to take that starter motor off there as well. That needs to come off so we can free it up from the splines, and then we'll work our way around, and then we will divorce this old gearbox from that in preparation for it going together with the new engine. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so after much wriggling and shaking apart, the gearbox finally came apart. So as you can see, we are intact, no issues, no damage. There's the original flywheel, that's going to stay on there, and there's the original engine. Now I've got to clean up all of this oil down here, so I'm going to have to get some sand and stuff. I'm going to give the gearbox a service as well. Now that I've got it out of the car, it makes sense to just change the oil, etc. But I'm going to see exactly how to do that properly to comply with Audi's process for getting the oil change. So I'll probably get a new filter, a new oil filter for it as well. So yeah, so good news, engine's now out of the car. I can now start stripping it, all the bits that I'm going to be able to keep. Okay, so the engine is finally out of the car, and you heard me mention there about servicing the DSG gearbox. Well, that's not going to happen until the gearbox is actually in the car and the car is running, because to correctly change the oil or do a service on the DSG gearbox, the gearbox has to be up to a temperature of above 35 degrees, and that's when you then drain the oil. There's a whole procedure that you have to follow in order to do this right. So in order for us to get this right, the engine needs to be running first of all. So we'll do the gearbox oil change later once we get the car running. So next week we'll be putting the new engine in the car. We'll be joining the marrying the gearbox to the new engine, making sure that all goes well, and then all things going well there, we'll get the engine at least in the car on its new mount, ready to be connected up. So progress, we're making progress. Now there's been a few comments about parts, etc., and it's going to cost a fortune, and I just wanted to make it very clear, I am not selling this car. I have bought this car for me to keep. So this car will be around for a few years. That's the plan, at least, so that this car is going to become my daily, and I'm also going to be running some mods on the vehicle. So I'm doing this really as the experience, because getting this car fixed, I will know it inside out, all the parts, that anything that needs changing in the future, I'm gonna know how to do it. And so taking the engine out, or the heart of the car out, and putting it back in and getting that running really is the biggest confidence booster you can get when it comes to engineering or being a technician on a vehicle. That's the reason why I'm going for it. So yes, there is a budget on this car. I will not exceed that budget, or shouldn't exceed that budget, but no, this car is not going to be sold, so don't worry about profits, okay? The car is staying. Good. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe down here and click that notification bell so you are aware whenever we release new videos, and you can be the first to see it. So have a good week, guys, and we'll see you on Monday.